We invite you to listen and grow to this Power Business and Lifestyle Magazine show. With hosts Paul and Deb Rees, experts in business, leadership and lifestyle. Skilling yourself into a successful you. Emotions are your value, and your value is your business. UK Health Radio.
Yes, we are up and running. Happy days, man. Happy days. And of course, welcome to another amazing, full-on, in-your-face, bouncing your earworm radio show with, of course, myself, Paul Rees, and the amazing guests we have on every week. And do I have someone fantastic for you today? And yes, I may say that kind of intro week in, week out, but you just can't diss the kind of quality people that I have on this show every week. It is absolutely fantastic, you know, and it has, listen, I've had such a day. I mean, I don't want to do small talk, but you know what? I don't like WorldPay. There, I've said it. WorldPay are my gateway to where my international clients pay for the services, but darn it. Actually, no, I shouldn't blame WorldPay. Here's the thing, listeners. We're quick to blame in the business world. We carry a kind of blame culture until we grow up and put our big man pants on or big woman pants on, whichever it is you choose, and sort of look at ourselves a little, because here's the thing. I have been missing emails for about, we're in July, so since April. My wonderful wife, colleague, and center of my life has been deleting the emails from WorldPay that says, you haven't done your due diligence. You haven't filled in your legality forms, which means they've been holding money. And I'm like, I noticed today, I thought, why is my bank account flatlined? How come my business bank account is empty? Well, guess what? WorldPay, you've got a couple of $1,000 in there. And you know what? When you don't like doing accounts, this is what happens, see, guys. You've got to watch your money, you've got to watch your people, you've got to watch your pipelines, and above all, keep your friends close to heart. And that's business in a nutshell. And there was a few oversights from myself. I'm putting it out there. I don't like accounts, but I do love money. Now, those things, when you don't like accounts, you love money. I mean, that doesn't gel. It's like oil and water. It's both fluid, but they're not mixing. Do you know what I mean? You got to like the both. That's how it is. That's how it is. And that goes back to money alignment, you know, spending, all these things as a kid. What do you do with your pocket money? Do you keep it? Do you save it? Do you give it away? Do you run straight to the ice cream van and get the biggest, floppiest ice cream you could get and blow it in one go? Trust me, look at those habits and you'll see that still in your business. Mine is, I like to spend it, but don't like to look after it, man. That's my thing. And I'm growing up. Trust me, I'm growing up quick. This week was a big lesson for myself and my wife when it comes to accounting in your business. Yes. You know, I find it even boring when I say it. Accounts. Let me say that again. Accounts. Oh my God, it turns in my stomach. It's like, why? Why do we have to have this stuff that goes on in our business? Well, there it is. It's all part of life. That's what we are. So that's kind of been my week. But here's the thing. To be the best version of yourself, you have to be it in first to be it out. That was my karma. You got to be it in to be it out. And do you know what? Our guest we have this week, that's what he does. He takes the quality of that inner person and presents it out to the world with the wonderfulness, with a visual that as an employer, you think, wow, now that makes sense to me. I mean, I've spent some time in this genre for many years, in and out, but this man, and I tell you the history, we can have a few jokes going on here today, I'm sure. If not, I wonder why. Let me introduce him. Let me bring it in. The amazing, the wonderful. Of course, here he is, Mr. Ian Hawkins. Let me bring him in. Absolutely. Ian, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, Paul. Thank you very much. Your voice has a musicality to it, which I can scarce step away from. The listener will not know, but throughout the beginning of this, I've been sitting here quietly, and you were singing along to the jingle. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. Paul, you've got a career up there on the stage, my friend.
Mate, I sing in between the cracks. I sing in the cracks, and nobody wants to put their ear. They don't want to put their listening to it. That's what I sing. That's for sure. Absolutely. Listen.
I disagree. But I tell you what, Paul, I have a solution to your problems. The best business book I've read this year has been, it's called Forget the First Million. It's by Lucy Cohen. And she says, when you're starting a business, for goodness sake, make sure people know how to pay you. And that's fundamental. Like, Lucy, yes, you're speaking my language.
Here's the thing. They know how to pay me. I just don't keep the legalities in place for WorldPay to say, listen, we've got your money, but we can't give it to you until you fill in your, what is it? There was like I can't remember the name of the form they have to fill in that aligns me to being, as a legal business, to be receiving money. I'm like, okay, these things happen. But, come in there. When we think about, business, and then of course in those business we have to have people. And when we have people, we need the right people. Now, employees are seeing the shape of an employee has changed. That's fact. I remember when I started work, get there and stay for life. Now that's not the case either. People don't want to stay for life. They want to bunny hop from one place, one career for another. And also, the most employees now, especially the younger generation, are pretty entitled. That's not a negative, by the way. They just think different to how I think at 55. And the business you have, CVTV, it says it all. It says what it is. Bless you.
It's your CV on TV.
I mean, bless you for going in there. How are you finding, we're going to talk about, the whole shape of you, but I want to come here first. How are you finding the change in attitudes of what are now the modern employees coming into an employer situation?
I think that the idea that young people don't want to work, forgive me, I think that's, I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it. What young people feel entitled to is meaningful work. And you and I, Paul, we're both of an age where we probably did rubbish jobs. We worked in pubs. We picked up glasses. We did thankless things.
I was on the YTS schemes. Remember the training schemes? They call it slave labor. I was there for 2 years when I left school.
Yeah, but notice how they said it. They say you're being trained for something. It's an apprenticeship. You're learning something. I'm going to challenge you, Paul, to the worst job you ever had, because I know the worst job I had, which was mopping up after strippers in a bar. And let me tell you, there's nothing, no product on this earth will get baby oil off laminate flooring in one swipe. I'm telling you. So I think young people feel entitled to having meaningful work, which we all do, but they come to that realization that you and I have come to. They come to it a lot quicker. And so, if you say to somebody, "Do something useless," I remember in a pub somebody once said, "You're not busy. Go and brasso the bottle caps on the bottles in the fridge." Right?
Wow.
Okay. I don't think that many people are going to be prepared to do that now. So we search for meaning, but then everybody does.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think that when I think about my two daughters and where they are now in their careers, and how quick they demanded, the forward momentum, and they demanded it of their employer, or they would have left. They're saying, you got to give me substance here and purpose, or I'm out of here. And I'm 55. I was cap in hand looking for my uplifts in my career. Please beg, can I make you a cup of tea kind of thing. And I have those worst job memories also. And I'm going to say that those worst job memories for me come in more of a crime approach rather than a legal approach, if I'm going to be honest with you. It was, sadly, it was an income. And that's going back a long time in my animal days that I'm not unproud of, but I feel sorry for my parents that they had to go through that experience with me. But, when we think about it now, is it because, the young people have, they have more meaning. They have a greater depth. Has that come from, digital technology in, opening awareness quicker than what we had effectively?
I think so, because look at what's happened with ChatGPT, which has really been the big story, the big tech story of this year. And if you're writing a CV, and you're going for a job, you're a fool if you don't run it through ChatGPT to tweak your CV for that particular job that you want. And the cover letter, you copy and paste the advert for the job. You say, "Dear ChatGPT, please write me a cover letter that will answer everything they want in here." So you'd be a fool if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
What all that means is that, well, there's two things. First of all, I've read a lot of ChatGPT now, and I can spot it. It's very difficult to. I find ChatGPT is brilliant as a first draft, but you cannot leave it there. You have to go back to it and you have to sort it out. Okay. The other thing about automation, AI, and all that kind of thing is that it means that we have robots to do robotic jobs, whether that's polishing the metaphorical bottle caps of your business. Okay. So if it's better for a robot to do it, then for goodness sake, just get a robot to do it. You don't like doing your accounts. Fair enough. But I bet most of that could be automated if you really wanted to, or outsourced in some other way.
Absolutely. I have a great accountant. I'm just lazy in getting it to her.
Just a bit lazy. But I reckon if you look down any entrepreneur's bank balance now, look at their statement, there'll be £10 here, there'll be £20 there, and it will all be for subscriptions for things that make their lives easier, especially, I would say, if they're under 30. Yeah. They'll be going, well, why don't I have... Well, I'm not going to employ a designer. I'll get Canva. I'm not going to sit there and worry about my diary. I'll get a Calendly account.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of these things, is that you no longer have to do those daft jobs. You do human jobs, and that raises the big philosophical question, Paul, what is a human job now? My 17-year-old nephew came to stay with me to do a week's work experience. Yeah. And together we built his LinkedIn profile. And underneath his name, on the headline, he says, "I don't know what I want to be because every time I land on something, you make it obsolete."
Oh, wow. Wow, that's such a statement.
Yeah.
Isn't it? When we think of, I want to talk about the journey, the CV journey. Now, I was on this about 3 years ago. Now, I had enough of enough of business. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a regular job. So I had my CV built. I did that. I didn't do it myself. I took it out. Someone built it for me who claimed to be a CV expert. And then what I did was I started on the Indeed and other journey. I started on these journeys. Now, here's my thing. I went for about 10 interviews throughout that time. Never actually had a job. Each time I went for an interview, one, it was like, "You're overqualified." I went for a manager's role in Tesco's, and do you know what he said to me? He said, "Mate, we walk about 40,000 steps a day. You sat in a chair for 15 years in an office." I said, "I'm about, mate." I said, "I do sportifs. I race on a bike." He said, "Oh no," he said, "I can't employ you." He said, "I don't think you'll do the step count." So he wouldn't employ me as a manager because he didn't feel I could do the step count every day in my shift as a manager. That was his reason for not employing me. So here's the thing. And I want to share this with you because I got to a point where I lost a hell of a lot of worth in myself from that 12-month experience of sending out application forms, my CVs. I remember being interviewed by what I thought was no more than a teenager over the phone was another manager role, who absolutely couldn't ask any questions, the right questions, and didn't have any idea about the value of my CV. And I'm like, this little person, this young lady has just completely taken my legs from under me emotionally. Now, Ian, that was a hard journey for me. And I'll be truthful with you. I woke up in the morning after about 12 months, and I was sobbing to my wife, and I said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm going full back into where I belong. I cannot live in this environment. It's worse than a dating site."
I'm not surprised, because we put a huge amount of wealth on the jobs that we have and the jobs that we go for. And whenever I hear that a friend of mine is going for a job, the first thing I do is say, one, it's a numbers game. Two, don't take it personal. And three, I'm here if you need me. Because so many of the customers that I talk to through CVTV, it's not so much that we're helping them find a job, because I don't have any jobs to give. I can just help them rise to the top of the pile in the marketplace. But I give them sort of encouragement, and I tell them I'm a helpful person to listen to. And again, that idea, it is a complete numbers game. And if you say I've applied for 200 jobs, that's nothing. I've applied for 600 jobs, that's nothing. Again, there are people that go out and automate it. When I was in a similar position, I had a thing which was I would do fast automated job searches through LinkedIn, and I'd do the easy apply. And I could do 20 of those, 25 of those a day, no problem at all. Wouldn't take me any time. And then I'd see the ones that I really liked, and those were the ones I'd dedicate time to. And those were the applications. They were the ones that hurt when I didn't get them.
I mean, it's great we have you at the end of a line where you are offering support, emotional support, mental support, because trust me, it's needed when you are in that I'm going to say arena, the arena of moving, finding, or restructuring your career goals. I don't want to be negative here, but it wasn't a great experience where I have no doubt if I kept going, then something would have come there. But tell me about what the idea of CVTV. So obviously it's a video-based, CV proposal. How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So I would get the other person on the phone, very much like this. I would down a Zoom call, and we would record the Zoom meeting, and I would have 5 questions in front of me, which I'd agreed with the other person beforehand. And those questions will be based on their life, their career, their experience, and also what they would like to get out at the end of it. So the kind of job they're going for. And over the half hour or so that we're together, I'd ask each question a couple of times. Great. We record everything. I take it all back. I edit it down. So you get a nice 6-7 minute video of this interview, and it enables the other person to give a really good first impression. So if they fluff up an answer, they can go, oh, sorry, can I do that again? Of course you can. Of course, we'll use the best take. The other thing that it's good for, Paul, is that if you have the question that you don't want to answer, so those 10 interviews, I bet they asked you this every time. It says here you used to be self-employed. Why are you looking for a job now? Horrible to have to answer that, right? Because basically you're going to say, it didn't work out. I'm a failure. Cash flow, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if you can answer that once on this video and answer it well and answer it in a positive way, then you never have to answer it again.
Wow. So
it's done.
What happens with this then? So I come to you, we build a video CV effectively.
Yeah.
I then
it's not a full CV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I keep that, and then I can use to send that out to my prospective opportunities.
Yeah, you get a URL, it's hosted up on Vimeo, and then, where it says in the box, anything else you'd like to tell us, there you go. I paste in the URL. This is me. Wow. You can meet me here.
What a fantastic idea. That is, it gives that clear essence then of who that person is, because text is so, I'm going to say, so, let me just get a word. I know there was a pause there. But text can be read in so many directions that it's rarely read as it's written unless you are an incredibly good writer. And then there's still a percentage that'll read it the other way. But when you watch a video, that's very different. It really is.
People hire people. Nobody hires somebody based off their CV. The CV will get them in for an interview, but nobody's going to go, they look great on paper. Let's give them a contract.
Yeah.
You must have done this. You must have interviewed people where you've gone, the person in front of me does not match up to the expectation set by this CV.
Well, I've not interviewed ever for myself, but I've helped my client companies get involved with the interviewing, but sure. I still leave it to those guys because, I'm the type that wants to save every puppy in the litter. And so that's why I'm no good at those things. Do you know what I mean? Really.
The other thing is, from the employer's point of view, they might be like you. They might go, I don't have a huge amount of time to interview somebody. Oh, and it's a new business and I've never had to interview somebody before. And to have a product like CVTV, where they come along and they go, right, here's somebody that has done interviews before. There's a professional business journalist who is interviewing this person and getting these bits of information out of them. And after that 6 minutes, you can go, yes, I want to see this person again, or no, I don't.
Yeah.
and it's a great way of being a gatekeeper and giving the person at the other end of it a really good reason to pick up the phone or to say, do you know what, we'll pass. Wow. But that saves you time. That saves you the heartache of those 10 interviews that you didn't get. Imagine if it had been 2 interviews and they really wanted you.
Yeah, absolutely. I see this as such a boost into what is your into your exposure as a potential employee in any career. When I got to see your notes, I thought, you know what, this is great. Coming from my experience, that I wish that, why wasn't I presented with this? Why didn't somebody say, hey, by the way, do a video? It's like, nobody told me to do a video. Nobody gave me that idea. So I think it's fantastic. And there's a history there, but we're going to come back. What we're going to do, listeners, we're going to jump into a quick commercial. When we come back, Ian is going to shout out all his contact details and how we get hold of him and where you can find him and all the beautiful things. So you're going to jump back in. Let's come back with your pen and paper, listeners, because you need to write these things down, and I will come back to you in a quick 90 seconds. Happy days about
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Happy days! Yes, we are back in, of course, and we have the very handsome one and only Ian Hawkins. I mean, Hawkins, you just want to say it with a side mouth thing, do you know what I mean? And elongate the Hawkins. It's fantastic. And we've got Ian on here, and he specializes in, of course, what is your CVTV. And the reason why we wanted to get Ian on here, because, I wanted people to have a respite really from the experience I had, which could be for themselves, which is the almost swipe left, swipe right world of what is application forms, interviews, and the world that's, it gets perception of, improve your career, keep moving on, but it's brutal, and I don't care what anybody says. And, actually, I do care. I care what Ian says here. And we can have a little boxing match on that. But, Ian, before we go any further, as promised, what are your contact details, my man?
Contact details. So if you want to find me on socials, the best thing to do is @SmartMrHawkins. Okay, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads, I'm on Twitter, if that still exists when this goes out, if Elon hasn't destroyed it. But my favourite way is LinkedIn. Ian R. Hawkins. It's LinkedIn /Ian, IAN, Hawkins, and that will find me.
Happy days. I mean, there is a website, which is www.mr. What is that? That is a...
It's a hyphen. Mr.
Yes, why do I forget that? www.mr-hawkins.com. There is that also. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Happy days.
Good. Give me your contact details. It says yes, and then forgets his URL. Yeah.
Do you know, I want to go into...
I work in technology.
I want to dive into something a little deep here. That you have a past. I mean, actually, you have a very thankful past. You started out as a comedy writer in the early 2000s, working for the BBC, Channel 4, etc. Also, a stand-up comedian. Bless you, one of the hardest jobs in the world. Stand-up comedian.
Yes, right up there with coal mining and brain surgery.
Listen, it's hard, but also on the back of that, you were once called a failed comedian.
Yeah, very proud of that.
How could you be a failed comedian? How was that?
Well, I think they were being deliberately provocative and deliberately unfair, because the thing that you always say to a comedian if you want to hurt them is you go, well, I don't find you funny. To which the answer is always, well, do you know who else doesn't find me funny? The lady that arranged my mortgage. And yet I pay her every month with the proceeds from my jokes. So the right people find me funny,
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, the job of a comedian is pretty hard because of the personality of audiences, things. And do you think that, that history that you have, that it shaped you, it created an emotional toughness in there, perhaps?
I think ultimately it's not the audiences that are a problem, because you have good ones, you have bad ones, and you have ones you like and ones you don't. The thing that is difficult about comedy is that it's It's your weekends, it's your evenings. It makes it very difficult to have a home life.
Yeah.
You're always seeing everything through this filter of where's the laugh. And ultimately, I quote unquote failed as a comedian because I would rather do things like run things like CVTV. I'd rather be a presenter. I do moderation for events, which I absolutely adore. I go out and do a member of the Professional Speakers Association, so I do a keynote speech on storytelling and change. I moved away from comedy because I wanted to tell different stories, and more importantly, I wanted to do it during the day because I'm an early riser, not a night owl. And it was much. I one day the phone rang, and somebody on the other end of it said, "Is that Ian Hawkins?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Would you like to produce films for BBC World?" And I went, "Yes, all right." Put the phone down. I thought, I've never produced a film in my life. But sure enough, within a couple of months, I was off on a plane with a film crew in Nicaragua, literally calling the shots on a film we were making for... film production is basically making sure everyone's got enough toilet paper and broadly saying what this film is going to be about. Let's shape it like this. We need to tell this. We need to tell that. Yeah. So it was a mix of creative organisation.
Mm-hmm. How cool is that, though, eh?
I know, but I was like, well, it wasn't a very funny film that came out at the end of it. But then I thought it is probably better paid. It involves more foreign travel in nicer hotels, and I can have a home life again. So if that's failure, let's have a bit more.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'm a big believer there's no such thing as failure, only opportunities. Yeah, which is an old saying, but very much some of those just stay true. That's for sure. And you know that this journey that you've been on, because again you have a very colourful past. There's so much going on there, but also we can see that you know, a recovering alcoholic. You know, I get the grabs of alcohol. I've not gone to that place, but I know my wife was very close there when we first met. You know, it has a kind of, I don't know, when people think about alcohol on recovering alcoholic, you know, it's for me, it's a very layered process. And what I mean by that is that do we ever recover?
Well, I think a lot of ex-drunks like me will describe themselves as being in recovery. It's a really tricky one, isn't it? Because alcohol, unlike any other drug, alcohol is legal, very easy to get hold of, and very socially acceptable. There's no sort of drawback of me going out to the park right now with a bottle of red wine and drinking it. You know, my neighbours will still say hello to me tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, but if I sat out there with the mildest of cannabis cigarettes, I wonder if one or two of them would look at me askance. I wonder if I feel relaxed about the police driving past. And so alcohol comes with a load of cultural baggage. It comes with easy availability. It's relatively cheap. That doesn't feel like that when you're getting around in. I appreciate that. And it does have this very interesting effect of narrowing your parameters so that you only really, like any drug, I think you only really end up concentrating on where the next whatever is coming from.
I mean, I've met, you know, many people, especially in the professional world, that are borderline, or I'm going to say functioning alcoholics. You know, and I feel also that there is a shift because of what is well-being and people's perception now of clean living. But I'm, you know, I still see, you know, listen, I am very prone to binging. That's why I don't drink, because when I do drink, I get myself in trouble, because I'm pretty unpredictable in alcohol. That's my thing. Not nasty, but you know, I'll put on all my cycle gear, full body kit, and I'll go out on my mountain bike absolutely out of my face, and that's not a good place to be.
Not a good place.
Yeah, I'm one of those. So, and that's my reason for, you know, I don't drink. I drink alcohol free, beers because I like the taste.
Alcohol free is this huge booming market now, because we're talking about young people not wanting to, whether or not they're going to be motivated to work. I'll tell you what is very unlikely to happen with a person under 25. They're massively unlikely to turn up with a hangover, because very few of them drink now.
Yeah.
Something like 40% of all trips to pubs do not include an alcoholic drink.
Wow.
40%.
Is that mad? You know,
as somebody that used to work in a pub, I go, oh, if half my customers aren't drinking, what are they doing?
This is it. I think the value of social behavior, of social connection is more important. You know, listen, I'm 55. I was in the days where you could smoke in a pub and you would walk in and there would be this haze of smoke in the pub that as you walk through, it would just be like a fog machine had been in there. You know, I was in those days where if you didn't smoke, you were like, what? You do not smoke? And I'm saying now that again is a bad habit.
And I wonder if the sales of cologne have gone up, because now we can smell each other. We know what we all smell like. I used to smell like cigarettes because I worked in a pub. No.
Absolutely.
Are you going to dab something behind your ears? No, what a waste of money.
Do you see, though, Ian, that the professional person is certainly a different shape now? Do you feel that the professional person is sharper now in their intentions, and, as you say, not entitled but expects more? So do you feel that as we move, you know, into the future of what careers are, do you think we go into a better place and better opportunity? Well,
I don't know, because the people I look at are my parents' generation, and my dad certainly used to, he had a sort of blended career of some employment and some self-employment, but he certainly had friends that would reach retirement age and then keel over. And I think, but I think back in the day that was kind of expected. You get your carriage clock and you maybe have, you know, you make it to your early 70s and that's not too bad. Now my parents are in their late 70s and they're off on walking holidays and cycling around. And my mother was going, I fell off my bike last week. You know, so you think, okay. But the expectations are that you will have a longer retirement. That idea of getting a carriage clock and having a heart attack on the 6:51 back from Waterloo, I don't think that's what people do anymore. I think people go, work is part of my life. I have my family who I love and I want to dedicate some time to them and I want to be present for my children. I have work which brings me the money to pay for nice things, and hopefully it will also pay for me to have a long and healthy retirement.
I so see that. And here's the thing with the word, I'm going to share this, because the word retirement to me is a stop. You know, I always say to people, you're not retiring, you have life promotion. Because here's the thing, you have life promotion, which means for the first time you can do what the hell it is you want to do with your life promotion. Nobody now is restricting you. I mean, how fantastic is that? And that's the thing with people. I think that you're right. That nostalgia we had years ago, which was you retire and then, well, then what? Because for many, the loss of that identity, the loss of that profile that was built into their career becomes who they are. And when you lose that, I mean, I see my father, you know, he's been a plasterer in the building trade all his life, and he loves nothing better than once or twice a week putting on his working clothes and going to do a little obble, as they say, you know, an under the table opportunity, because it keeps him energetic.
I used to get my car serviced by a friend of my grandparents who used to just do it almost as a hobby, and you know, it cost you nothing. Yeah. You know, he'd say, "This is what the parts cost," and you know, 100 quid would be lovely.
I mean, I wonder if my 23-year-old daughter will actually be at her life promotion. Will she even bother? You know, because we have this work hard instilling us from our parents, but certainly my children don't have that. You know, where's she planning? You know, I think that even though the retirement or the life promotion age is later on, I think people are going to be financially planning to finish earlier,
or possibly do something a bit more portfolio. But I don't think that we can, at the moment, we're still, I think, a little bit blinkered by what's happened with COVID. Because people like you and me, we're basically all right after COVID. Okay. It doesn't really affect people of our age that much. And I say that as someone that spent 4 days in hospital with COVID. The people that I feel sorry for are people of my parents' generation who they look at it, they've got their motorhome and they know they've got a finite number of summers left where they can enjoy it. And suddenly COVID comes along, bam, that's 2-3 summers that have gone. And they don't have that many. And also you've got young people who are at university and are going, great, I'm going to, go to university and have a good time, which is what university is about as much as learning. Yeah. And suddenly they're going, actually, all my university is being done through a screen and I don't meet anybody. So those two generations have been massively affected by COVID, but it's the younger ones that are going to be shaping tomorrow. So I wonder if this work ethic that younger people have, I wonder if that is informed somewhat by going, actually, we lost 2-3 years of our late teens, early 20s. Yeah. We deserve a bit of a break here.
Wow, I see that. That. And
you and I might say, well, look, sweetheart, life is unfair. But from their point of view, they go, yeah, well, life is what you make it. Yeah. And that's kind of understandable.
And do you think that, employers are gearing up correctly for the new shape of employee coming through? Because we still have the tip your hat in some places. I've seen it and it's horrible. We still have that. So I'm like, okay, how are we gearing up? Are we getting the fullest potential out of our new shape of mind that's coming into our businesses? Do you think that they are, as I say, really embracing diversity, really embracing dyslexia, really embracing, all sorts of dimensions of thinking?
I think the smart ones are, because the truth about it, Paul, is that when we operate alone, we do not achieve as much as we do when we operate as a group. Okay. And if your work life is physical, okay, so you're building a house, you're putting one brick on top of another. Okay. Maybe you don't want to be massively diverse in the people that you employ for that. Do you see what I mean? You don't want, you want people that are strong enough. You've got a level of physical fitness. So you wouldn't want to employ me because I'm not very strong. I'm not very fit. I'm in my middle 40s. I've got a heart condition. You don't want me climbing up and down ladders carrying bricks. You do want fit, healthy people, probably of a certain younger age. But we don't work in that world so much these days. The rest of the world is much more about how you construct a product, how you construct a marketing campaign, how you work in this field of ideas and services. And when you move into services, you have to have diversity of thought. And you don't get diversity of thought if everybody in your team is a straight white man or a straight white able-bodied man, because disability is one we always forget. And once you introduce the best thing that happened to the stand-up circuit, I'll tell you right now, is that people recognized that it was hard work and recognized that it was difficult to be out that late at night. And the community of comedians did something about it. And now there's more female comedians on stage than ever before. And that is only a good thing for the comedy circuit. That has massively transformed what you get when you go out to comedy night. A friend of mine who's still in the business said to me, God, I was the only person on there that wasn't lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or, another queer. And I was like, well, there you are. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It's amazing. And, that is going to open up a kind of mini conversation here where, I think it's fab that the younger generation coming through has different choices now, can experience different opportunities. Whether that's the sexuality, whether that's a pronoun, whatever it may be. And this might be opening up a whole can of worms here, but at some point, everything always settles. That's Mother Nature for you. But I do like, I do like the range that can be imaginative and wonderful. I'm going to put it that way, in whichever way that you want to be. And I probably will get 1,000 emails, sharing all different sizes from that.
Comedy tells you an awful lot about the society in which it exists. So if you go back into the 1970s, you'll have a bunch of white men, okay, And they're all white guys on a lineup, and they literally would sit in the green room before they go on and go, I'll do this joke, you do that joke. You do this mother-in-law joke, I'll do that joke. And they'll do jokes about mothers-in-law, they'll do jokes about gays, women, their wives, black people. Okay. Now you go to a comedy club, all those same jokes are happening, but the joke about a woman is done by a woman. The joke about black people is done by black people. The joke about gays is done by the gays. And when you get white straight men going, God, you can't joke about anything anymore. It's like, yes, you can. You can joke about absolutely anything you like, but you have to earn it.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense. You have to earn it. I love that idea of, absolutely. Because you've got to evolve, I feel, as a person to deliver the right clarity to the reason for the technical joke. Jokes are technical. They technically delivered. All the great jokes have a technicality to them, which effectively are not offensive in any way whatsoever. I understand that. I understand that, if you see a joke for what it is, it cannot offend anybody. It's an impossibility. But you have to have the open-mindedness to understand the layering of what a joke is. I love that. I love that idea.
So when people ask me, as in my capacity as a writer, they would say, how do you learn to write comedy? I would always say the way I learned it was that I got a load of tapes of Tony Hancock, Galton and Simpson, and I listened to them. And you can hear, if you listen to them in sequence, people always say Galton and Simpson, fantastic script writers. When they started, they were pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
But as you listen to them more, you go, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're getting more out of this, they're getting more out of that, they're exploring this character. The more you do that, the better a writer you are. Until if you start with the first Hancock radio half hour, all the way up to the last series when he's by himself and nothing happens for half an hour in a bed sit, and the gulf between those two, and you go, that was 6 years or something ridiculous. It's like no time at all.
Yeah.
They're Gordon and Simpson, the Beatles of writing. And if you sit there and listen to them, you listen to them critically, you will understand at the end how to be a writer.
I love that. Listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into our second audio quickly. And listeners, when we come back, the wonderful Ian is going to call out his details again. So you can be sure to reach out to him, that's for sure. So we'll be back pretty soon. Happy days.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. The station that makes you feel good.
Yes, we are back in, of course. And thank you for staying with us. And we are, of course, with the wonderful, the amazing, the very handsome, of course, Ian Hawkins. Yeah. Yes, we have Ian with us. So, Ian, before we go any further,
cool. I've got a great face for internet radio. Go on.
Please call out your contact details one more time for us.
Okay, if you want to find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads, it's @SmartMrHawkins. Otherwise, my URL is mr-hawkins.com.
Happy days. Thank you ever so much. And of course, you are on LinkedIn.
Of course, I always leave one off. What's wrong with me, Paul? LinkedIn, Ian R. Hawkins. If you just pop that in, I'm a scruffy-looking bloke with a rainbow background.
Well, that's good enough. Scruff is never scruff. Scruff is different. I also now I want to just talk about the process before I go into one more thing here, because we have a couple of minutes left now. I come to you. We do go through the process of CVTV, and then effectively what you're doing is you're editing that, and I'm taking that away. And is there a support system then? Is there a support system you provide in any way that's where I can keep in contact with Ian as someone that is out there in the messy field of swipe left or right in the employment world? Is it a support system you offer also?
I'm not massively connected into recruitment, so I'm not really the best person to say, oh, and I can put this out and get you work. I don't have a huge audience, a huge following. But what I can do is I do follow up with people quite a lot. And I like hearing about people's successes. I like being able to G people along, because it is a process, and it can be a much longer process than you realize. And one of the first things I did when I started up was because I started up CVTV because I'd lost my job in COVID. I was in hospital and I was taken very unwell. And I realized I'd become a bit unemployable. The only thing I could do was create a business that would employ myself.
Wow.
So I said, if you are looking for work, don't pay me till you get a job.
Wow.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If you're already working, then yeah, I'll have your money. Thank you very much. But if you're unemployed, and a lot of people were at that stage because, because of one thing and another and lockdowns. Yeah, I don't want to take somebody's last penny off them and offer them hope.
Yeah. Wow, that's just so, that's so authentic of you. And here's the thing, there's a gap here. I wish there was emotional employability support for me. I wish there was someone that offered me emotional employability support whilst I was going through my 12 months of applications and rejection. And there's a gap there. Well, Ian, there is. We need an Ian Hawkins that can offer this service plan that offers emotional employability support. I'm going to put it out there for you to build that, have that in place. And, yes, I've seen grown men cry, and I've been one of them in this process. It's not nice. I mean, my wife gave me loads of support, but I wanted someone that understood the process, understood the industry. And you do, because, all right, you're saying that, Paul, I provide this CVTV, I provide those videos, but I don't provide the employers know, but I want someone I can fall back into and say, do you know what? I am feeling pretty shit right now. I'm feeling pretty bad about myself right now because I'm 10,000 application forms in with 20 interviews under my belt and no one loves me. So I would need that Ian Hawkins. Do you know what I mean? There's place for that.
Well, I do the occasional motivational speech, and that is, what do? I think that at the end of the day, what I give people is the understanding that all they need to do is see their story from a very particular point of view and realize that what you're going through is sometimes part of the struggle.
Part of a build, part of growth. I grew a lot from
part
that.
Of growth.
I grew a lot. I grew more from that 12 months than I probably did 10 years before.
Yeah. It gives you a bit of resilience. It gives you and not only does it give you resilience, what it gives you is an understanding of actually, this is what I do need. I do need some help here. I do need support here. I probably value my employment a bit more than I should. It means more than money. It's not just about the money. It's about something deeper. And I think if you have that kind of self-reflection, you can, you've had the pain, you've paid the price. For goodness sake, take the lesson.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic opportunity to jump in with you and really, bring to the world the CVTV and the whole business, your past. We've not got to talk about, which we will not get time to, which is your instrument as a bass guitar. Why I'm disappointed, because being a drummer myself, I love the drums. It's a big thing for me. Music is a big thing. I'm sorry we didn't get in there and get that conversation going. But, if there's something you can add to the world of those going into employment, what would it be?
You could add something to the world going to employment. I think, okay, there's two things that I'm going to say. One is incredibly practical. And the first thing is, when you're writing a CV, try and quantify what it is you've done. So there's no bad jobs, there's just bad takes on them. So try and say, I did, I was a bartender. Now that's either a rubbish job, or I can say every penny that big company made came across the bar and I took it. And that came across because we built loyalty and we built a customer base and we built fans of the pub. Right. So remember that. Try and remember what your value is. And I guess that's my second point, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know your value.
You did the both there in one role. It was amazing.
Yeah, both in one.
and on cue, by the way, because we are completely done for time for sure. So I'm going to say, Ian, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom, all your experience, and who you are. Your space is beautiful. Listeners, until this time next week, remember, first of all, don't take a job for the sake of it. Take employment because it has purpose to you in your life. That's the important thing. Jump into Ian Hawkins. He will be there for you. He will get your CVTV up and running for you, man. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure somewhere there'll be emotional employability support coming from you. Who knows? I think that's the future of where we're going. So listeners, until this time next week, I'm going to say bye for now and boom!
Emotion.